following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and a few witches.
Witches?
No. Okay. Yes.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I am Diana.
And I'm a witch? No.
La
I'm
Brujas.
Steve. La Brujas. La Mijas.
And this week we're going to be discussing episode 5 of season 3 of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Title of this week's episode is Limbo, also known as How Low Can You Go?
That's right.
That's it's very important. So as is always, when we discuss the episode, we start off first with, before we get into the individual points, we do a quick sort of rapid fire first impressions. How did we feel overall about this episode? I went first last week for episode 4. So, Steve, it's your turn to go first. What are your thoughts on Limbo?
All right. Well, I think, first of all, the actual title of the episode should have been, What the Fork?
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, this episode was fun. And there's a lot of great moments in it and great bits. And I know you and I have a lot of things where it's like, yep, same thing. Yeah. So, we picked up on a lot of it, and it was just really enjoyable. But I mean, seriously, what the fork? It's like literally they're like, we've got 4 episodes left in the season. Let's just have one episode just be completely not involved at all with what we're doing, because I mean, everything about this episode, it was like, okay, we're gonna have Daryl run off and meet a brand new group we've never seen before, which are the lepers, right?
Yeah.
And they're being oppressed by bad guys we've never seen before, and then Daryl's gonna fight and kill them all, and then leave. I mean, it's just like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
So, but again, it was very well made. It was a lot of fun. So I'm not saying it was a bad episode. I think it was more of like a wasted opportunity, in that, other than just a little teeny bit with Fetty, kind of moving forward with like, whose side is he going to be on kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was nothing about the main storyline in this episode at all.
Yeah.
It was like I said, Fetty, and there was like a little bit with like Carol, like, trying to moves on Antonio and see if he wants to come back with her on the boat. But I mean, that was it. There's nothing else. And I was just kind of like, guys, what are we doing here? And well, I don't know about you, but when I saw the scenes for next week, after the episode, episode 4,
Yep.
and they showed the train, and they showed, Daryl saying like, "Where's this convoy headed?" and all stuff. I was under the impression that the people on the train were the La Alcazar guys.
Yes, absolutely.
And again, it's just like, who are these people? It doesn't really matter. They're all dead. But it's just sort of, it's just like, why did we waste our time with this? And so yeah, I again, super fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm just very puzzled by what this episode, it had very much kind of a Fear the Walking Dead vibe, where it's like, hey, we've got 8 episodes, so we're going to do like 4 bottle episodes that have nothing to do with the plot. You're like, what are you guys doing? So,
right.
But anyway, that was kind of my take on it. How about you? What did you think?
I feel very similar. We texted a little bit about this last night. Was it last night when you got home from your trip? So, I would have to say that this is one of the more entertaining and joyful episodes I've enjoyed that was absolutely unnecessary to the plot. Like, there was absolutely, and like you said, there was a little bit of Fede, there was a little bit of Carol, teeny tiny little bits, and still, like, not absolutely necessary stuff, but they still kind of moved plot things along. But everything with Daryl was absolutely unnecessary. And I agree with you. That's absolutely true. When I watched the clips for last week and he says convoy and then they show this train car, which looks like a convoy, I just naturally assumed, okay, he's going to get into some kind of like, you know, because they showed Amalia, who was like their little leader there at the leper colony, the one who spoke some English. They showed her and, you know, help us get our water or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's doing this convoy thing, which is the train. And maybe that I just assumed that like the El Alcazar took their water and that was like an impetus. Like I thought that was tightened somehow, or it was some sort of like thing in the way of him being able to help get Justina away. So I just, it was really weird how it just veered off and was like, no, we're gonna do nothing that has anything to do with forwarding the plot. But we're going to have really great action scenes. We're going to have some good drama, some good, you know, great visuals, you know, all of the stuff that we look for in a really good Walking Dead episode. A lot of that was there, you know, the little snippet at the little behind the scenes thing at the end of the episode, really good. And they explained a little bit of what they were doing. And I just really feel like the other 2 seasons of Daryl have been 6 episodes. And this year they were like, this is 7 episodes. And I'm like, did they add it in this episode so that as Norman Reedus said, he's like, oh, and I get to ride my motorcycle all through the desert mountains? Well, that's amazing. I'm like, that is the reason they did this episode. Yeah. They're like, what kind of storyline can we build out where Norman gets to spend the whole episode sort of driving around on his motorcycle in the mountains, in these sort of desert mountains, looking like he's, you know, an extra for, you know, Mad Max Fury Road, pretty much. But again, entertaining, lots of great action, some great, like, zombie ghoul stuff, some great, you know, I had some issues, but I ended up kind of enjoying like the leper colony stuff, like, you know, and the little girl and all the little affecting things to pull at your heartstrings and whatever. They were all really effectively done, but with people we've never met before that we don't care about, that have nothing to do with the plot, that aren't going to pull the plot forward in any way whatsoever. So I'm like, unless we see these people again, which I doubt it. I mean, maybe.
Yeah. I doubt
maybe there's some moment where they're in this fight in Barcelona next week where
Barcelona,
you know where the lepers show up and they help out. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's they explained why they live by themselves.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the lepers are gonna lend a hand?
Oh, look what just happened there. Terrible. It's terrible.
You see, people, when she sets me up like that, you know, what are you, am I not going to take the shot? I don't think so.
You have to. You really have to. It's your moral imperative. So I don't know. I really, really, really think it's highly unlikely we're ever going to see any of those characters again. And so
that little kid might want her thermos back at some point.
Maybe.
Be like, she's like, as he's driving away, she's like, what the hell? I just wanted him to take a drink out of the damn thing. I didn't say take it.
Yeah, now it's gone. So yeah, so I agree with you. Entertaining, fun episode, fun to watch, and just I sat at the end going, why did we do this?
Yeah.
So it's tough because like ultimately in terms of like artistic value for furthering the plot, this was, you know, a low rated episode, but in terms of entertainment value, it's a high rated episode. So it's difficult to come out either way. I think ultimately it fails as an episode because all of those things, it introduces these people we don't know and we're never going to see again, so we don't have to care about them because he's driving away and he's going to go to Barcelona. So it's like Barcelona, sorry. So I'm like, I'm not sure that this was an effective episode, you know, because we're at that point too, especially we're getting towards the far end of the season where we can't just have a bottle episode that's in there to entertain us. You know, and this isn't the show that does, you know, 16 episodes with an 8-season A season and then an 8 episode A season and an 8 episode B season. This is 6 episodes and as of this season, 7 episodes max. So time is precious, and we wasted almost an entire episode on stuff that in the long run won't even really matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and like you said, I mean, clearly they wrote the season and it was 6 episodes, and then they decided, well,
need one more.
We got to throw in an extra one. And and if you watch the featurette, the way that the David Zabel and all of the producers talk about it, there was a lot. Like, I got a real strong sense of, do these guys have a wouldn't it be cool list like the Knuckleheads had?
Right,
and,
right.
And somewhere in a meeting room they said, wouldn't it be awesome if we have like this train car and it's being pulled by the ghouls and like the bad guys around? And they're like, yeah, that's really cool. And then they just really didn't flesh it out, because when you think about it, this episode makes no sense at all.
Right.
And it kind of had that kind of like thought behind it where I was just like, uh-oh. But unlike the Knuckleheads, these guys are really good at making an episode entertaining and exciting, and putting action and violence in there. I mean, the ghouls actually eat people on this show, and whereas the Knucklehead ideas were kind of interesting ideas that went nowhere, and then the stories were boring. This was an idea that didn't really make a lot of sense, but it was just really fun to watch.
Yes. I think that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. All right. So that's how we feel.
All right.
But we're going to
see you next week.
We'll see you. Yeah, and we'll talk about episode 6 next week. Anyway, so before we get into our individual points, we will, of course, remind you of the episode description, and then we will delve into who were the writers and the director of this episode. So, Steve, you are up.
All right. Well, this week's episode is being brought to you by... Do you have an ailment that just won't go away? Are you suffering from a sickness that you just can't kick? Were you strung up over a bunch of ghouls and just left for dead? Well, then turn that frown upside down and go see the Migas. The Migas are folk healers, full of ancient learning passed down from mother to daughter. Do they rely on proven Western medicine techniques? Of course they don't. They use the Kimata, a special brandy remedy that only they know how to brew. If it doesn't fix you, at least it'll make you drunk. So what are you waiting for? Call the Migas today and make all your suffering magically disappear. Are they witches? No. Well, yeah. So they are witches?
No? Yes.
No? Yeah. No.
Yeah, no.
Maybe. I mean, in their chant they kind of mentioned witches, but I don't know.
Begrudgingly, Antonio says yes. So
yes,
I guess we have to go with his call.
And all I can say is that you were feeling a little under the weather today. You should have called them.
I should have, because nothing makes you feel better more than like brandy with some strange herb concoction in there.
Oh, absolutely.
It would have brought me right back.
I think you'd have been, you'd been like Nicholson at the Shining bar going, set him up, Lloyd.
I probably would have. All right. So anyway, let's get into that then. The description and the writer and director.
All right. Yeah. So our description, and I got to hand it to the description writers because they have clearly, I think they've been given the memo of to, really tighten it up, because we only get one sentence again, people. And if this doesn't sum it up, I don't know what to tell you. So the episode again in question is The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Season 3, Episode 5, Limbo. And our description is as follows. Carol helps Antonio and Roberto while Daryl journeys into the desert in search of someone. That is your episode description. It's like they couldn't even bother to say in search of Justina. No. It's someone.
Yeah, couldn't give you any sort of information whatsoever.
No. So that's our description, and well, I think those things are kind of there, although I'm not really sure how much Carol, I'm going to use air quotes here, helped, but But yeah, anyway, that's what the description is. And our writers and our director, it's going to be some people we're familiar with, we've heard of before. And that is our writers. We're back to our original pair that had written the first, I think, 3 episodes. And that's Jason Richman and David Zabel. And I will not bore everyone again by going over all the stuff they did. You can look it up. They worked on a lot of stuff. And, of course, David Zabel is the showrunner of this particular series. And then our director for this week is the same director that we had last week, which is this dude named Paco Cabezas, or Pete Head. And and like I said last week, this is a veteran guy. He's worked on a ton of stuff. He has like 22, 23 credits over the last like 15, 20 years. He's directed episodes on shows like Wednesday, Umbrella Academy, In From the Cold, Penny Dreadful, that Diana's favorite AMC show, Into the Badlands.
How dare you.
American Gods. And he did direct, as I said last week, an episode of Fear the Walking Dead from season 3, which was a good season, probably the best season. It was called The Diviner. It was episode 10, and it was when the group was at the ranch, and it wasn't quite when things are falling apart, but it was starting to get close, was kind of that moment. So that is our director, Paco Cabezas, and again, the writers were Jason Richman and David Zabel. So that is your writer and directors. So there you go.
Excellent. So we did get a quick sort of a cold open scene. Sorry, I was like pre-opening. What are those words? Pre-open.
That's to open before it opens.
Right. You can even shorten it and call it the propin, which is what I almost said out loud. I don't know. Whatever. I can't say
sure you
the
don't
word
need
ibuprofen.
to take more
it's like
ibuprofen?
No, that's acetaminophen. Anyway.
Studio? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. So in the cold open, we get the rescue Roberto scene.
Yes.
As I like to call it. It's the rescue Roberto / gotta get Daryl out of here so that he can be by himself for the rest of the episode.
Yes.
Impetus.
Yes.
So it's all of that comes to a head.
Well, and also like you pointed out, I think in some of your notes, clearly this was Melissa McBride's week off, and so she was only on set for one day.
Clearly.
And so
they filmed this scene, and that's it.
This scene, and then they shot the stuff back in the town, and then they said, okay, Mel, you go out and enjoy Spain, baby, because she was gonzo.
Great. It was fantastic. So I would say, there's a lot of, work a day, like, situations that we sort of, you could sort of see this coming, especially when we saw the scenes for next week. At the end of last week, you see Daryl driving around in the motorcycle and can you help us in the convoy, and I'll go after them. So you knew he was going to separate from the group. It was just needed like some sort of, impetus there. So, the scene starts out with, we show, them sort of, finding their trail through the woods because, Daryl, master tracker. And I love whenever they do that, just as a side note, because they always like make a point of showing the ground, and I'm like, there's nothing there. I don't see anything. Like, could you at least put some tracks or something? Like, disturb the ground somewhat. And he's always just like, it's like, in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn just like looks at the ground and tilts his head slightly and goes, 2 hobbits lay here. And then you're like, what? How did you know that?
How can you do that? Yes, yeah. It's like when he listens to the ground, he's like, oh, the worms are upset. Somebody was just here. What are you talking about?
I know. I mean, at least in Lord of the Rings, you can explain it away as like sort of like fantasy. So, who knows what kind of special magical elven powers that Aragorn has.
Yes.
That's fine. But Daryl has no elven powers from Galadriel or anything like that. He's just a regular old white trash from the woods of Georgia somewhere. So he's Mr. Master Tracker, and they, of course, end up finding Roberto. But before they even get there, the setup is that Roberto's been hung like sort of under his armpits, over like the edge of a bridge, and there's a bunch of ghouls underneath that are like just barely able to touch like his shoes, not enough to pull him down, but just sort of like tap his shoes so they can almost get to him. And up above is 2 guards from the El Alcazar group, and they're doing this little, hey, and he's got like a saber to cut him down because they've been told to kill him. And they're, of course, doing I bet it'll take you 4 tries. And he's like, I can do it in 2, and da-da-da-da. So he hits it once with the saber, and then before he can hit it a second time, he gets a headshot. And then his other guy turns around and is like, what? And then he's gone too. And, of course, they've come in and they've saved the day. But I just wanted to say, like, the action, the sequence of doing that, I thought was really interesting. I wasn't afraid for Roberto. I figured that they would come in at the last second and save the day, but I did like the sort of, like, normally there's just a scene where they're like, cut him down or whatever, but the fact that they turned it into something fun, like the bet, I thought that was cool. I haven't really seen anything like that before, so that was a fun sort of addition to the dialogue and whatever. And I loved how the guy that had the machete, he's like, or saber, machete, whatever he had in his hand, the cutting tool, when he gets the headshot, he flings it in the air, and it, like, falls down onto the group of ghouls below, and it literally implants right in a ghoul's, like, shoulder and just stays there.
Oh, yeah?
Because why would it?
Was awesome.
The ghoul's not going to pull it out. He's just like, this is my third arm now, and this is forever, is this,
That's right.
So I just thought that...
Or until Antonio comes and pulls it out and kills him. Either way.
Exactly. So I just thought, overall, like, as a sequence... I thought that was a cool action sequence, and then with the machete falling right into the ghoul, I thought was just it actually, I laughed out loud when I saw that, because I thought it was chef's kiss, wonderfully done. So we have to say too that there's this great scene where they're doing the whole, like, figuring out, we have to bring Roberto back, and and Daryl and Carol are talking it through, and they're like, yeah, but we can't tell them what he was doing, and we can't tell them blah, blah, blah. Like, they have to keep a lot of stuff quiet so that nobody gets in trouble, and they don't want Justina to get in trouble either. So they got to be quiet about it, and Carol's like, I don't know how we're going to do that, but Daryl's like, all we need is a good liar. He looks at Carol and he goes, and we got one of those. And I thought that was fantastic, because, in the later scene, she, of course... does her magic. But yeah,
lie.
She's so good. She's so good. But yeah, I liked that. It was a nice little moment there. And I think they go away from there to do the opening scene, and then we do get them back at Solares del Mar, just a quick scene of, so that we can now enjoy this entire episode of Daryl and know that Roberto's fine. So they make it back to Solares del Mar, and they, and they're tending to him, what do they call them? The Megas? The grandmother and the
Did you not listen to the commercial? My goodness. All right. The Migas.
So I just loved that moment where he's describing, these are herbs passed down from generation to generation, these women, and it's all women and women and women. And there's a brief pause, and Carol says, like witches? And he says, no, not like that. No. Pause. Well, yes.
Yeah,
So he admits it, that they're like, basically they're witches,
Sure. I mean, it's total, home, like wives' tale remedies, where it's like you go get this herb and this plant and you smush them together and you make a poultice and you say some weird chant and it supposedly heals them, and there's definitely some medical benefits there, because a lot of the herbs and things they use work and help, but
work,
again, it's still it's like a very, like, I would say like 10% that and like 90% mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, I was gonna say hocus pocus.
Yeah, just a mouthful of nothing that they kind of do the chanting and the praying. It's like, does that really do anything? No.
But at least,
and again, like Paz, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish what you were gonna say, and I'll make my point.
I was gonna say, like Paz points out, after they give him this, they set the rum or the brandy on fire, right? So it's burning, and then they pour the cup, and then they blow it out, and then they, have him drink it, and basically Paz is like, well, if it doesn't heal him, at least it's gonna get him drunk, So and again, it's like, yeah, if they're giving him alcohol, he's gonna feel better. I mean, it's just like, of course he is, Yeah.
So. And all I was gonna say was that. It's interesting because we see so many people in the apocalypse trying so hard to find medical people and to find modern like pills and medicines and stuff like that. And it's interesting to see them, and it's part of their culture. So it's not like something that came up because of the apocalypse, but has shown that the apocalypse is like a helpful ally here, in the sense that they don't really have access to like the true like modern medicines anymore. Nobody's there's no pharmaceutical companies making drugs for you to take. So leaning on the herbal things that do have some effectiveness, there are certain herbs that can fight infections, that can that can get rid of swelling, that can get rid of congestion, whatever it may be. Like, there are things out there that do work to a degree. So having a group of people that specialize in that, it's interesting. We haven't seen a lot of that up until now. It's mostly been like, we've only got like a little bit of drugs left in our stores, or we're looking for some antibiotics or whatever, and I'm like, good luck, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, you know what, D, you can have like the weirdos chant and give you a glass of beer. I'm gonna take some penicillin. That's just me. All right, you're gonna hold out for that. But I thought it was interesting that we haven't seen more of, like you said, of like these, not just these people being like more employed and sought after, but just that there isn't more of a like the general population turns to them and thinks they actually do have abilities, because the freaking dead are rising from the grave and coming after you. So clearly there's some kind of thing going on, supernatural kind of thing, eerie powers. So here are these women who claim to have this ability. Maybe you would think that people would be more open to being like, yeah, they know what the hell's going on, and I guess maybe we kind of see that because Fetty's mom, kind of has like a I don't know, authoritative position, but a higher position, right? I mean, she's more important in this town. And is that because she's his mom, or is that because she's, the Miga witch person and, can cast all these spells? I don't know. But you're right. I mean, certainly the people that have the kind of, I don't know what the right way to term it is, but like the knowledge, the sort of like folksy knowledge of, you get this root and this grass, and you mix it with a little hot water, and you do that, and it will help, it'll reduce the swelling of your arthritic knee and stuff. And these people that have learned this over, like he kind of says, it's just generational, it's handed down. The mom taught the daughter then teaches her kids, and it just kind of goes from there. And like we said, there's a little bit of science in there. There's a little bit of, yes, whatever those roots and plants are, they have properties that are what the drugs are now synthesized to do, and so on. So yeah, it was real interesting. Like we said before, it doesn't really do much for the plot, but it was interesting.
Right, exactly. So enough with Salaz del Mar. Now we move on to the time where Daryl will just wander the desert and do something. I mean, something resembling something. I mean, it won't be plot driven, but it will be, entertaining, I suppose. So.
Oh
anyway.
yeah, it was great.
Yes. Go ahead.
This is the spaghetti western episode. All of the people in the featurette mentioned it repeatedly. That out of all the episodes for this season that is set in Spain and that it has this western feel and look to it, this is the spaghetti western episode that they kind of really leaned into it. And you can tell, I mean, Daryl literally is Clint Eastwood. He's the man with no name. He's wearing the freaking poncho. And I mean, this is a total Western story. You have the small town that's being oppressed by the bad guys. They have no way to fight it off. There's no law. There's no, sheriff. There's nobody to come help them. And literally this stranger comes wandering out of the desert, and they have no choice but to trust him and see if he'll help. And he's kind of an anti-hero, right? He's kind of a guy that doesn't want to get involved, but for whatever reason he does, and he goes and he zaps all the bad guys. He returns whatever the town had stolen, and then he goes on his merry way. I mean, it is a straight Western plot, the whole thing. So they just leaned right into it all the way from the beginning to end. And again, like we said, it was really well done and fun.
Yeah, it really was. And that's why it's so difficult, because like you said, it does delve slightly into that Fear the Walking Dead territory of, doing something for the sake of it being cool. And it looks like there was some stuff that, like, that was the motivation for this episode. But it was also, a character we cared about. Like, we still care about Daryl. We care about his journey. We want to make sure he gets there. These people are new, so we don't care as much about them, but they did paint them nicely. So we have a little bit of sympathy towards them, at least some. And, even though some of the stuff was like, oh, this would be really cool if we can do it, they actually pulled off a lot of the stuff. And even though, like, there are a handful of things I have some questions with, but mostly the action was really cool. It was really exciting, and then they pulled off a lot of it. So it's interesting how this is sort of like that halfway episodes. Half of it is like, well, it doesn't do anything, but it also did a lot, like for fun and for entertainment factor.
Yeah.
It's starting off for me, like, as soon as they show him, like, riding across the desert or whatever, and then he comes to a stop with that one guy, I thought that was a really great, like, first of all, it's a great harbinger of, like, he's not going to find anything good out there. So he comes upon this guy, like, emaciated. For a second, it looks like a ghoul, but it's not. It's a living person, but his eyes have been plucked out. And he's got, like, old, crusty, it looks like oil, but it's just, like, streaks of blood that have been dried and caked and have changed from, like, red to brown to black and have, like, dust and whatever, and his eyes are just black from just exposure and whatever. His eye holes, his eye sockets.
They're just sockets.
There are no eyes in there. But I just thought the look of him and everything was just it just was so apocalyptic. It just had such an apocalypse feel to it. We've seen, like, a similar, look and feel and sense in other, post-apocalyptic type stuff. Very, Mad Maxian and stuff like that, where it's just something that you would see in a futuristic apocalyptic story. It's just that whole image of how that guy looked. I thought it was fantastic. And I love what he said. First of all, it's in Spanish, so Daryl has no friggin' idea what he said, but, subtitles are great. But when he says, he looks up in the sky, he hears the buzzards, the vultures circling, and he looks up in the sky, looks towards the sky, and he says, "Bone Crusher." He waits for me, and then he starts maniacally laughing, and he says, "You're next," to Daryl. And once he starts, like, maniacally laughing, Daryl's like, "Okay, bye-bye, it's time for me to go." And as soon as he goes away, the guy, like, it's like, he, like, resets and starts, walking again, going, "Agua, agua, agua, agua."
Well, and we should point out, he he tries to drink all of Daryl's water.
Yeah. He's like, hey man, calm down. That's all my agua.
Yeah, he's like, save some for me, bro.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought yeah. Just it was a great way to start. The image and everything, it was really cool. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the question I have is do you think that his eyeballs are the things in the bowl that the dude's feeding to his iguana?
Without question. Question. Yeah, and I think that was like there was a lot there in the sense that it was even if it didn't have that payoff where we saw the the container full of eyeballs that he feeds to the little Komodo dragon there or whatever it was, iguana. It's just like a plain.
It's a snake. You're a snake. Shut up.
Even if we didn't get that payoff, it would still be like a haunting image. But to have that be the first thing that Daryl sees out in the wilderness, as it were, and have it tie to that later, and you go, oh, eyeballs. Oh, we know where he got those from. It was just really cool. I enjoyed that they tied that together because they didn't have to. They could have just had him be, it would have worked with him just being like that because it would have made sense. Because here's the thing: until you see that scene, I just naturally thought that he laid down to rest, and I thought his eyeballs were plucked out, because that'll happen, if he was passed out from exhaustion and a vulture goes down, the first thing they're going for is the soft parts, so your eyes go first. So I was just and that's why I thought he was reacting to the buzzard that's sort of buzzing around. But by having the eyeball thing later, it's clear that that's how that happened. But they sort of they could tease you into thinking, oh, this just sort of happened naturally with the vulture. He probably pecked his eyes out while he was trying to sleep or rest, or he was passed out from heat exhaustion, or who knows. But yeah, it was well put together, because it sort of I felt like it sort of pulled you down a path, but then pointed you in another direction later. So it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I a lot. Yeah, I did too. And it's kind of interesting that rather than running into the bad guys first, he runs into someone that ran into the bad guys first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, oh, okay, so we're seeing the carnage before we meet the guys that are doing it. So
yeah, exactly. So not long after that, I couldn't help but, of course, a little bit on the nose. And I put in my notes, of course, there's a group of bad guys on motorcycles that end up going after Daryl, and it's very Fury Road, I feel like. So there's the chase scene where they're trying to, because the guy in the train was like, I want that motorcycle.
I wanted the bike. Yeah.
So his, little minions go off and do his bidding. And, there's a confrontation. He's able to get a couple of shots off. But it looks like they at least knocked Daryl from the bike. Now, here's my question. He clearly, he got off the bike, and did he hide somewhere and then started walking away? Because it's not clear. And I feel like he had other bikes there, the guy that got knocked off the bike. So couldn't they have just gone on another bike and found Daryl and gotten him anyway? So my feeling is he must have gotten off the bike and hidden for a little while until they drove away, so that he could continue walking. Because when they sort of the scene sort of melts away and they show Daryl walking, and he's got his shirt on top of his head because he's sweating to keep the sun off and whatever, and when they sort of fade into that scene, you're like, okay, well, what was the resolution of the other scene? If he's just walking out in the open like this, couldn't they just follow him and find him? It seemed, I just needed a little bit more. I assume that that's what happened, but we didn't see it, so I don't know. All we see is his bike on the ground, and he's not there. And then it sort of dissolves away, and it shows him later on walking, and we don't see sort of what happened in between. So I thought that was a little clumsy, but I was like, I can sort of fill in the gaps, but I wish they had given us a little bit more there.
What they what the way that I interpreted it was there was like 4 or 5 guys on the motorcycles that are coming after him.
Right.
And I got it that they all kind of split up.
Right.
So they're not all in a group. And so then the one guy, the crazy nut job guy that he ends up killing in the church later on.
Yep.
He finds Daryl, and they have that whole like kind of almost like a jousting kind of a scene where they're riding at each other and they're shooting, and I loved it because, you know, Daryl does the rifleman / Terminator 2 reload with the he's got the lever action shotgun, you know, and he fires and then he spins it around and it chambers another round, and he does that, and again,
looks amazing.
You know, Chuck Connors did it first in The Rifleman back in the 50s, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger did it in T2 when they on a motorcycle as well, interestingly enough. And they shoot, and then you get the bit where Daryl's bike is on the ground, but then the other guy, you can see Daryl shot and like hit his fuel tank, and like his fuel's like shooting out in a stream. And so I got the sense that guy couldn't look for Daryl. He had to get back to his, you know, the train or back to the other dudes because he was going to run out of gas.
Right.
And so he went away, and that's how Daryl got away. But you're right. It's very ambiguous where you're like, wait, what happened to Daryl? Where'd he go? And then suddenly I think the next scene, doesn't he have like another flashback?
He does when he like sort of sits down for the night when it's dark out and he's like shivering. He has a little flashback. Yeah. Yeah,
where, you know, you hear Merle say, "You got to get out of here," and then he you know, runs out of the trail. Whatever. Again, and again, we're sort of, I think we're still like, what is this?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why are we having that? But you're right. It's very ambiguous as to why the Fury Road dudes don't just like follow him and finish him off. Because, you know, again, his bike's there. He's got to be real close by, you know, and it's a desert. It's, you know, it's not a lot of places to hide. So yeah, that was a little strange. And the only way that I kind of wrote it off was it was just him and the other guy, and the other guy literally had to turn around and ride away while his bike still had fuel so he wasn't stranded in the desert. So.
Yeah, I can see that. I like I said, there was enough there where you could sort of make some leaps. I just wish they had sort of, you know, whether, you know, the leap I made, the leap you made, whatever. I just wish that they had made some stronger choices and maybe pointed you in the direction that they actually meant, rather than, because when it comes to like someone living in a moment of, you know, conflict like that, you know, we already know that Daryl's not going to die, but he could get taken captive. He could get, you know, injured or whatever. So when they have a scene like that where it's hard to know how it resolved, then it adds more to the whole, like, oh, well, he's never going to get killed and all that other stuff. Like, you know, it looks clumsy. I didn't like it, and I expect more from them. And the episode itself, like we have been saying, entertaining and well written and well done, and lots of good action sequences. I just like but there were a couple of moments. This is one of them where I felt like they could have just like punched that up a little bit more to make it more clear. That's all.
Yeah.
And then he does have that scene where he's, you know, we find him late at night sitting in, you know, sort of like off to the side, like, and he's sort of shivering and sitting there, and he has that little flashback that you were just talking about, and then you see in the distance that there's like a figure coming toward him. And it's interesting because when they first show, when we meet Mateo, but when you first see him, he's sort of coming towards Daryl, and there's like a little movement, and he jumps up and goes to look at him. Greg Nicotero said in the little featurette at the end that they found doing like the idea of lepers interesting, because here are these people who, they kind of look like ghouls, but they aren't ghouls, but they're alive. So it was interesting because in that moment where Mateo is there with him, and he's just like, he's got his hands up and he's like, he's doing a couple gestures that are like, oh, that's a person, that's not a walker. And then you see his face and you're like, what is happening here? You know, like, what's with the face and whatever. And I gotta say, I did not go to leper right away. I thought, you know, something else. Like, we've seen a couple, it could have been any number of things, but we've seen like disfigurations because of, you know, on fear. There was like nuclear and radiation exposure and stuff like that. We've seen those things, but we've also seen, you know, people that have been exposed to chemicals. Maybe they've been burned. Maybe it's disease, whatever. So I wasn't sure what to think. Did you think leper as soon as you saw him, or were you just like, you couldn't like decide on something, or did you think something else entirely?
No, I mean, first I kind of followed the Nicotero logic where I'm like, okay, those look like ghouls because they're moving very ghoul-ish, you know,
Right.
kind of the staggering, you know, kind of, you know, meandering style. But then I'm like, wait a minute, then they start talking. And you know, and I'm like, okay, they're not ghouls, but then I did not immediately go to leper. You know, it's a dark sequence, and you're like, something's up with the way they look, and you can see that their faces have, you know, kind of the weird stuff on them, and you know,
Yeah.
they're kind of disfigured and stuff. But I didn't make that right away. I don't think it was until like he got back in the town, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get it. So
Yeah, I think so. And I like how when he got in the town, I initially was like, when you see all these people, and they showed the clip later when they did like when Nicotero was talking about in the featurette, and he made that comment about how here are these people who look like they're walkers, but they are alive. And then you realize when he was walking in and they showed a clip of it, that it's at nighttime, so it's dark and everyone's lit from below. So it's all like firelight, which is sort of catching every little nook and cranny on their face. And, and some people it's a little more pronounced than others, but there's like, you know, disfigurations and there's all this other stuff. And it does very much look like walkers, you know. So it's very macabre looking. It's very unsettling, you know, and you can see that because until he's told what is wrong with them, you know, what are you supposed to think? Are all these people sick? Are they walkers that didn't fully turn? Like, is this sort of weird, you know, variant that I'm finding in Spain? Like, you know, it's hard to say, but you could see that he was, you know, he wanted water, and that's what Mateo said to get him to come with. But he's cautious. He doesn't know what to think. It's all very bizarre looking, you know, the way their faces are lit, and he doesn't have an explanation. So it's hard for him to sort of settle down or be settled until he gets the description later from Amaya, who says, you know, that they are lepers. But my reaction as soon as they said lepers, I was like, really? Lepers? That's what we're going with? And they want him to help. And of course they do. So yeah, it's.
Hey, they don't want him to help. They like, you know, have no choice. They're like, you know, if he doesn't help them, you know, they're all gonna die. So literally, you know, because they offer him Mateo's like, we got to give him the truck, and the other gal is like, you know, the other gal is not a believer at all. You know, she's just like, he's just gonna leave. And literally Mateo's like, we don't have a choice, you know, and so yeah, I mean, it's they clearly the showrunners are like stacking the deck here so that it's this desperate, you know, little community that, you know, if they don't get their water, what did she say, like 4 or 5 days and they'd be dead, right? And then to add on top of it, oh yeah, and they're lepers. You know,
no big deal. It's really no big deal.
It's no big deal. No, it's no big whoop.
No big whoop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, lepers, of course, really, and you know, and they need him to help them, and of course, because I feel like this is exactly, and it's less about the whole fact that they're lepers, but it's a group that's in need, and they need help from one of our heroes to save the day, which is, you know, it's a plot device that's been used a ton of times. And of course, you know, as soon as they say, you know, these guys, they took our water, and then it becomes clear, okay, that once they say they need help with the water, and they say it was guys on a train that took it, And we saw the guy that was on the train and realized he has nothing to do with El Alcazar. This is some other dude, some other, bad guy. And they say the water was taken by them and, they need help and whatever. That's also when it becomes clear. You're like, really? This group, it needs help? And then when it becomes clear who they needed help from, you're like, so this has nothing to do with anything. This is just like a weird plot.
Side quest.
Yeah, exactly. Side quest.
That's what it is.
It is. It's totally a side quest. So yeah, just with like the fact that it was, it's such an unbelievable thing for him to just like be brought in. It's just such a trope that falls in all the time with these shows where, you're on this journey and in the midst of the journey you stop off here and, oh, sir, can you help us while you're here? Kind of thing. And
it's very video game-ish.
Yes.
Very, very video game-ish. And I would point out that Daryl gets, suckered into helping twice in this episode.
Yes,
because at the beginning, they rescue Roberto and, Daryl's like, well, let's get back to the boat. And Carol's like, we're just going to leave Justina. And he's like, I don't think there's anything we can do about that. And she's like, well, I'm going to go. And, and so basically, because now somehow Carol's still sick and not able to do anything in his eyes, rather than let her go off by herself, he's like, fine, I'll go after Justina. You guys go back with Roberto. So that's number one. And then he gets in here. And so now he's distracted from this other quest that distracted him from his first thing, which is to get back to the boat and leave. So, yeah, it's very tropey. It's very, sort of like, okay, I know what you're doing. And you're right. As soon as we see that guy that's, living like a high on the hog in the train car, right? He's got the bath and he's got the girl that's all over him in the bath, and he's got his little pet that he feeds the eyeballs to, and he's smoking a cigar and just kind of living the good life in the ZA. And you're like, yeah, that guy has nothing to do with any of the people that we've seen in this show so far,
Yes.
And so immediately you're like, okay, so this clearly is just going to be something extra that is, not at all essential to the main plot. But all right, this is where we're going, so let's just see where it goes. So
yeah, and like you said, side quest.
Side quest, absolutely.
That's exactly what we want to be doing right now. Is
and
side quest.
And clearly the message of the episode is that if a little leper girl gives you some water to drink that she's probably been drinking from, so if you're drinking it, you're drinking her backwash, which means you're drinking leper stuff. You do it, and then you want to help them. That's what it tells you.
That's definitely true. What's really funny is I actually, because I wasn't sure, like, is leprosy even a thing anymore? Like, can you still get leprosy? And I, of course, had to look it up because I'm that person. Yeah. And have to educate myself on it. Yeah, I had to. So I looked it up, and there's a Wikipedia page on it, and learn all about it. And there are still instances, but it's treatable. Yeah. It's treatable with antibiotics. It's kind of like a virus, and it is treatable. So you do mostly where you see people who end up like sort of living with it. You don't ever really get killed from it, but you get like disfigurements and things like that, and rashes and skin issues along with it. So those are the things that sort of come out. But it happens in more underdeveloped countries. It'll happen there, so that they, there's less access to like antibiotics and modern medicine and things like that. Yeah. So and that would definitely qualify here. So I had to, of course, look it up. And one of the things they said, though, is that kind of like what Amaya was saying, which is, you can touch a little, you can be around it a little. It's true. It takes a lot of contact for you to
transfer it.
To transfer. Yeah. So you're actually, it's actually not as is easily transferable as it may seem. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's interesting that the stuff that Amaya was saying was true, and it's also, if they could educate people, there's really no need to have like like they were saying when I looked it up, there's no need to have like quote unquote leper colonies because it's very difficult to transmit to someone else, especially just by touch. So I just thought that was interesting. Educating myself on leprosy is not what I had on my bingo card for the Daryl Dixon season.
Well,
this year.
Daryl Dixon is entertaining and educational. Okay.
Right. I do enjoy a little bit of learning. I'm not gonna lie. So that was.
That's right. Hey, the more you know.
Right. Exactly. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah. He does accept like that he's going to help them, so we sort of transition from can you help us to okay, I'll help you, and then he gets them all sort of working towards this goal, and
gonna need a montage.
Yeah. Let's get the whole group working together montage, and that's exactly what happens.
Oh yeah.
But the way it played out, I thought was really well done, and I put the note down, and so did you, that I really liked the way that they all like banded together to defeat the 4 different motorcycle riders, that there was this sort of feeling of community. It was like the first one where they, when you made a note about the rope line, they knocked him down, but then when they were finished, they like brutally killed them.
Oh my God, did they come out? You could tell that was like a lot of payback.
Oh yeah. That they've been hounded or bothered by these guys in the past, or people like them. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool to see a community like that come together, and they did a really good job.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's 4 guys, right? So my brain immediately goes to the 4 horsemen, and I loved that. He makes a point of saying, I only got 4 bullets.
Yes.
So we're going to have to work to make this happen, right?
Yeah.
And so then, he shoots the one guy, and then you got, little Rosa going, oh no. And she draws the little line in the sand, right?
It was cute. It was cute.
It was really great. And then, there's the dude, he comes up, and there's like that one woman who's just kind of sitting by herself, knitting or something. And he looks at her, and then he goes, where is he? And she kind of like tilts her head, and then he goes forward, and then kabam, and you see like, the bike fall down, and then it goes to Rosa, dos,
The best part of that, and I loved, not to take away, I did love the Rosa stuff where she was keeping track, but that exact scene when he's like, where is he, and and he does the thing where she points, to make it look like, hey, I'm not supposed to tell you, but he's over there, that way. And then when the guy gets killed, and then the camera comes back over and shows her face, and she has like a little grin on her face.
Oh, that big smile.
Great. That was really great. Because they didn't have to do that sort of resolve to come over and show that, and they really did. It was really effective. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and then the third rider. First of all, it's a woman. It's a girl. Yeah. And she gets off, and she like starts climbing up this hill, and again you hear the Winchester, and then you just like her like helmet tumbles down the hill, signifying that she don't need a helmet no more, and then you get the tres, and then the third one, and then that sets up, and then finally we come back to the dude that Daryl kind of did the jousting thing with earlier, and Daryl shoots him, but like shoots him in the arm again or something, and doesn't kill him, and this sets up the guy pulls out the battle axe with like the saw blades on it and stuff. It looked really cool.
It did look very cool.
Very Mad Max.
Yes.
Right? Very much like this is a weapon that they made out of the stuff they had lying around, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then so then he goes charging, and of course Daryl still has that like weird like giant switchblade thing.
Yes.
That he took from the town when he killed those dudes from like in episode 2, and he kind of does the Olay move, like the guy comes zipping up and he's all, and is all in a frenzy, and Daryl just kind of Olays him and then slits his throat, and takes him out. I thought that, and of course it's in that got kind of the ruins of that church.
Yes.
Where he does it, so it looked amazing. It was a great set, and it was a really fun kill. Yeah, the way that the whole action in the town I thought it was really well coordinated and done. It looked great, and it was just very creative and fun. So
yeah,
and
absolutely, all of those things.
Yeah.
And once they were finished, then he got rid of the four horsemen, as it were, and so now he's free to go get the train, because he doesn't have to worry about his little guys out there looking for him.
Right.
So then we get the scene on the train. So there was a lot of really good stuff, really good. Like there was some good ghoul action. There was some good just action sequences in general, overall, and right from the get-go, when he jumps on top and he ends up, I love how the guy was banging with the hammer, and he put his hand up to bang with the hammer, and Daryl grabbed his arm while his arm was up. So I thought that was really cool, like that you don't normally see that sort of gesture to grab the arm while he's doing that, and I thought that was cool. So we got that. He unhooks the Zeds, so then they go up to the, they got the guy that was playing the guitar, and then he's gone, and it's just that was cool too, and so it was a little bit of everything, and now that the ghouls are let free, they can now come onto the train, so now the big boss and his, girlfriend there, now they're sort of overrun. And so it's just like, it's one sort of thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And I just thought it was really, really cool. You have a lot more of the sequence sort of written out. I mostly was talking about at the very end, but I did want to make a point too, that I love that we find out that the real love of his life, the guy in the train, is the iguana named Lola, who is
of course.
Beautiful. The beautiful
Lola. Lola. Okay.
Yeah.
She drinks champagne just like it's Coca-Cola. I'm just saying. All right. I'm just gonna go there. All right.
Yeah. You went there.
It's just from the very beginning when he literally is on the overpass and the train comes underneath and he jumps down. I mean, straight out of the Westerns. Right. Whenever there's a train robbery, think Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or The Great Train Robbery, or any of these Western movies. That is a staple where like the protagonist lands on the top car and is running across the train and jumps. Right. Yeah. We get the shot of him jumping, and then, like you said, he grabs the hammer out of the dude's hand, and the guy's like, no, and he just brains him, and then we see that dude fall. Off of the train to the ground, and it's sort of like the people in the train are like, wait, did I see that right?
Yeah, did someone just fall off?
What? And then he lets the chain go, and then my favorite moment of the whole sequence is where that okay, first of all, the whole idea of the train, it's super cool, but it doesn't make any sense at all, okay? So they're on this train that they're having the ghouls pull, and they just kind of go up and down the train tracks? I mean, and if you're like the leper colony people, why not just move away from the train tracks, and then they can't bother you anymore? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
But it looks really great. And so they do. They've got these two train cars, and what would you say, like maybe like 50, 60 ghouls they have chained that are
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're pulling these two massive like Pullman train cars, and making them move. They have this guy on a horse, like you said, strumming this guitar, playing singing songs and stuff, and he's just like, his horse is just at a very slow walk, just enough to keep ahead of the ghouls,
Yeah.
And it's so great because he lets the chains go so they're not pulling the train anymore. And this guy is just singing away, having a good time, and then the ghouls, they just envelop him and it's kind of like Rick Grimes in episode 1. They just rip him off the horse.
Yes.
And unlike Rick Grimes, you know, he just disappears, right?
Yeah, he gone.
Oh yeah, and I loved it too that the horse is like, "Yep, I'm out of here," and just goes running away. like, thank God, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Oh yeah, and so then I thought there was just a great zombie moment in that. You're right. The boss and his girlfriend are in the train car, and he's, you know, making, you know, sweet nothings to the lizard, and of course she's like, "What is wrong with you?" And then all the ghouls, they put their hands up on the window, right? And I thought that was that's just a standard zombie movie visual.
Right.
You know, the ghouls with the trying to get in through the windows, and of course the windows are high enough up that they can just get their hands and a little bit of their forearms into the frame, right? They can't, you know, you don't see their heads, you don't see their faces, but they're just, all these hands are there. I thought that was a really effective little moment. And then Daryl comes into the train, and then the ghouls just start showing up.
Right.
From all directions. And so then Daryl, rather than taking out the remaining people on the train, he has to fight the ghouls. And then, of course, the big boss starts fighting the ghouls. And I actually loved it that the girl's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here."
See ya.
And you know what? She gets away. I mean, we don't see her get killed.
That's true.
So you know, she goes to the one side, and there's all these ghouls trying to get in. So then she opens the door on the other side and runs away. And they never showed her get it. So I'm like, good for you. You know, that you're like, yeah, this place is awful, I'm leaving. You know, so
I've had enough.
Yeah, and so then, you know, and I know this is your point, is that Daryl's killing the ghouls on one end of the car, and the boss is fighting the ghouls on the other end of the car, and of course. I mean, it's a never-ending line. I mean, you take one out, there's another one right behind it. And so they're both being pushed into the center until finally their backs touch, and they startle, and they look at each other, and they're like, "Oh, wait, you're a human. Okay. No, I'm not going to kill you right now." And so then they go back to killing the ghouls, and I thought that was a great little comedic moment. And then the timeout was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, because they finish off all the ghouls, and they're both kind of like staring at each other, and they're both like out of breath because it's been very intense. And literally the boss like puts his hands, he kind of gives them the like 1 moment symbol with his hands.
Give me a second.
And he puts his hands on his hips, on his knees, and kind of bends over and is kind of like trying to catch his breath. And then Daryl does the same thing. And then after like maybe a couple seconds, then Daryl gets up and is like, "Okay, let's go." You know, it was just so great. And then you know, the guy, I don't know, he reaches for a gun, and then Daryl tackles him into the bathtub that still has water in it, and then Daryl drowns him. Yeah. And kills him. And then, I mean, this scene was just so great, because how many times, and this show has done it already, and we've commented on it, how many times have these people left potential walkers or walkers alive to possibly kill them later? You know what I mean? Where it's like, You just drowned this dude, and I was just waiting for Daryl to be like, "That's done, let's go." And it's like, no, you put that guy down because you don't want him getting up and coming after you, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
yeah.
And he does, and he like blows his whole head off with that like little sawed-off shotgun thing that the guy had. But just the fact that he did it, I loved that moment. It was like, yeah hell yeah, Daryl, you know, kick ass, man.
Yeah, finish it off.
Yeah, you know. And however, they did leave the one ghoul still alive, pinned to the wall. That bothered me.
It just looked cool.
It did, but it's just like, oh, take him out too. Come on, what are you doing? You know. But yeah, the train sequence, it was exciting. It was super fun, and there's some great visuals, some great zombie stuff. But again, it makes no sense. Why are these guys riding around on this stupid train? What are they doing? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. So please explain it to me, D. Please.
I can't answer that question. I don't know. Because it doesn't make... Because here's the thing. Is that where they lived? So did they just live out their existence going back and forth on these train tracks?
That I don't know.
You know? Or do they have a home base, and every now and then they go forth and they steal supplies from people and then they head back to their home base. Like, is that what it was?
I don't know. I need closure.
And I think the thing is that if it were just like they come across a group that was like hiding out in caves, or a group that was, whatever, but to take something that we've never seen before and use it as a plot device, like the train was, and being pulled by the ghouls and all of that, and like the whole contraption was such a new image, it was such a new thing we'd never seen before, but to put nothing like realistic around it, like them saying, even if they just put one line of dialogue, I want that motorcycle, you need to get it quick before we get out of here and we get back to our base. Or, you know what I mean? Just like, even if they'd added some little line in that would have tethered this whole train thing to some kind of reality that made sense. Because without it, because to me it just feels like we have a little train set that we have for our Lego set for Christmas, and it's just a long piece of track, and you go back and forth and back and forth. It literally felt like that's what they're going to do, is just go back and forth on this train track, one train track. Right. So I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, I can't explain it. I don't know.
Well, and how do you think they turn around and go the other direction? I mean, how do they get all the ghouls from one end of the train to the other end of the train to pull it the other way? I mean, there's the way it's set up, it's like that train just kind of goes one direction. I mean, it's definitely following the British pop group. There's no way around it. I mean, again, it was super cool. It looked amazing. It's something we've never seen before, but it doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, they get, and like we were saying too, like this is a series where like we still care about the main characters. They're introducing new people this season. We're learning more about them and caring about them. They're painting them really well. They're well grounded. So in those kinds of moments, they get a lot of leeway. So this show gets some leeway here. And another reason that helps them get some leeway is it looked really cool. It worked as a device, but it still had some unbelievability to it that it just needed to be tidied up a little bit more. But in any other show, we'd be like, oh man, this again, we're just going to do this cool thing to be cool. But in this instance, we're like, hey, they shot their shot. They tried to do something that looked really cool, and it wasn't 100% effective, but still looked really cool. So they at least achieved that. So there's that.
Yeah.
And I did like the scene, when they have like the resolution with the leper colony, as it were.
You mean when the mamas turn on the water and let all the water pour out of the green place and all the people come out and get the water, like at the end of Fury Road? That scene?
Yeah, just like that. Yeah. So I liked the whole visual of like Rosa giving him the thermos. Again, another sort of stereotypical kind of tropey thing is like when the silent stranger leaves, the little child is like, Mister, and gives them the
Shane.
thing. Yeah, exactly. So it's all very adorable and well done.
And he finally tells them his name.
Yeah, so now they know. Daryl?
Yeah, Daryl.
Like, which is so weird. I'm like, would they really have that hard of a... Would she have that hard of a time saying his name? It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's like, come on, kid. Come on.
Yeah.
Take two.
Let's go. Yeah. So it was a cute little moment. I like that he took the thermos, and I like the way that it was sort of attached to the back of his pack as he was leaving. They made it very visual, and it's got a very distinctive design. It's like a little kid's thermos that would be in like a lunchbox, had like a little hippo or a little animal on there. And I thought it was super cute. The thing I would like to see, and sometimes the show is good with this. They're good with callbacks. They're good with, they have, Daryl still had the Rubik's Cube after all that time.
Yep.
What I'd really like to see is I'd love to see a resolution with that thermos where we see it again, And not this season, though. I'd love to see it pop up again next season as some type of a reminder, or some sort of like visual reminder for him that he has. And that's where I think, Walking Dead does its best work, is when they have stuff like that where, does it add anything to the plot? No, probably not. But is it a callback to a previous moment, a previous, affecting and emotional moment, one where he made a connection with a small child and blah, blah, blah. Like, I just think that if they're able to see that through, and for us to see the thermos again in a later episode of some kind, I think that would be a really, really great sort of circle for the whole thing. I would really enjoy that. No.
Sure, I agree. I think it'd be fun. And, there's a very good chance that there's a little piece of Rosa in thermos.
Yeah, there probably is. And he's a brave man to drink from her thermos.
Oh, boy. He just slurping that down, baby.
Yeah. Now he's gonna do a really great job and bring leprosy back to the United States. Well done, sir.
Yeah, or at least to Salaz. They'll be like, why did we let these people come into our town? Although I have to point out, okay, when you look at Daryl, doesn't he look like he could just be part of that little community?
He hides his face anyway, he's got his hair in his face.
And he's got all the
disheveled.
He's got the scars, and he hasn't showered in like 2 months, so he's got all that on. I mean, yeah, it's just
2 months. That's generous.
Well, you have to figure, the storm, he got a little salt water on him, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of laugh. I just chuckle a little, because it's just like, Daryl, you found your people, man, because you fit right in here,
Wait, I can hide my face and I don't have to wash all the time? Great.
These
are my people. Yeah, these are my people. So he drives away with an overloaded motorcycle, so clearly they restocked him, and he drives away. Mm-hmm. And then we pivot back to, moments where it's like, oh, okay, Melissa's back on set now, so we're able to have her be in a couple of scenes at the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. And this is really great couple of scenes to sort of like finish off the moments in Salaz Damar for the episode. And it all starts off with Valentina showing up to visit and, see Roberto and sort of, I guess, pay her respects, etc. And she mentions that she comes to Salaz like once a year to visit and probably trade and get some supplies and yada yada. Mm-hmm. And so there's this fantastic scene where she's talking to Carol, and she says, she asks what she's planning on doing, and she brings up Daryl, and she's like, well, when Daryl comes back, we plan on just, sailing back to the U.S., plan is still in motion. And Valentina has this great moment where she's like, I had you wrong. I had the two of you wrong. I didn't understand. And she looks at her really deeply, and she's like, you prefer the local wine. Mm-hmm. And it's clear she's talking about Antonio. And she's like, she lets it sit there for a second. And Carol says to her, don't take this the wrong way, but has anyone ever called you a horny old lady? And she says, usually they don't call me a lady. And I thought that's the kind of like palsy sort of repartee that we're used to, and, sort of joking and ribbing with, people that know each other, and these characters are sort of getting to know each other. I think Carol and Valentina have sort of created this sort of bond that's there, which I find interesting. And I've just thought that was hilarious that she just sort of laid it on the line, that she was like, because we've said it too, we're like, she's kind of like a horny old broad. And it's like, and Carol says, has anyone ever said you're a horny old lady?
Yeah, right.
Like, she wears her horniness on her sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. She don't care.
Yeah. She gives 0 F's about the whole thing.
Her fields are barren.
Yeah.
So she has no F's to give. Yes. Yeah, I thought that was really funny, where she's like, you like the local wine, and then Antonio comes out and he's like, she's what you would say, and he points to his nose, and Carol's like, nosy? She's like, yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. I didn't put it in my notes, but we mentioned before that there seems to be some other weird drama, like underlying the tension that's between Roberto and Fede, and there's something there that we don't know about yet, some secret. And when Carol goes to help him, he goes to this cabin they have by their this little sort of storage area by the vegetable garden, and that's where they store this mixture that the Megas use. So she goes to help him, and she makes this offer to him, and she basically is like, you would, Ohio is not Italy, but you might really enjoy it there. And she says, you're welcome to come with us. And he brushes it aside so fast and makes it seem like, not that he doesn't want to go, because I think he would want to go, but he makes it seem like he can't go, like he's not allowed to go. Did you get that sense?
I just got it more of this is where he's lived his whole life, and he's just like, I can't, this is my home, that these are the people I know, I can't, see leaving them. I didn't see it where like he's like, man, I'd really like to go, but I mean, we will never be allowed to leave.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll see that come out, that there's some sort of, official setup of, if you're part of the town, you're part of the town, and the only way you get to leave is if you get the the permit from Fede or something. But no, I did not get that sense. I got it just more of he's just he's institutionalized, right? He's just this is everything he knows, and the idea of like packing up everything and moving, not just moving, but like going across the ocean is just, it's too much for him.
I totally see that's definitely a way that they can definitely go. I absolutely see that. I just think if it was just like, these are my people and I don't want to leave, I think he would have said that. I feel like he would have been like, this is my home, these are my people, my wife is buried here, I couldn't possibly, it's a wonderful thing. I think he would have had some kind of discussion about it. That's just how I feel. I think because he has been honest with Carol about certain things, so I feel like he and maybe he wouldn't, but I feel like he might be honest and tell her how he's feeling there. But I don't know. They could definitely go down the road of he just is like, this is my home, but because he was so hesitant there and brushed it off so quickly, to me, I interpret it as, I feel like there's more there, but we'll have to wait and see.
There could be. I think he did say something like he tried that once, like he went to Barcelona and it like didn't work out. And so he came back. So he did kind of throw that out, that like, I've tried to like go out and leave, and it just wasn't for me.
Doesn't work.
But you're right. I mean, we don't really know what's gonna happen here. And is Fede a good guy or a bad guy? Because we kind of seen signs of both possibilities. So
and like you said, it could just be the simplest answer, which is, these are my people, my home, and I don't want to move away from them. This is all I've ever known. That could be the simplest answer, because, to be fair, we have 2 episodes left. So are we going to have this long, drawn out, like, big dramatic thing that we're going to find out about in the final 2 episodes? I don't know. So so it could just be like in Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is the one they're going to use. So we'll have to wait and see. I feel like there's more there, and I'm curious to see if it happens. So.
Yeah, I
feel we made it through a lot of our list. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you want to make sure we discuss before we take our break?
Just there's that last little bit where Fede, first of all, Fede's mom finds that Roberto has the little compass necklace thing that he gave to Justina, and she gives it to Fede, and she's like, this means that they were together. And he's like, no, it just means that she gave it to him before he left, or she left. And the mom's like, no, she was wearing it when she left. And he kind of goes, yeah, you're wrong. You're misremembering, and kind of tells her, go make dinner, and then she scolds him for eating chocolate. And then when she leaves, he eats another piece of chocolate, which I totally get, dude. I'm right there with you. Don't you tell me what I can eat, Mom. Yeah,
I'm going to have chocolate no matter what you say. I'm a big boy.
But then after she leaves, then he calls over, I think the guy's name is Sergio, which is his lieutenant. And he tells him, hey, you know what? Go out to the beach and look at the boat and see if Daryl is there. Because that's the cover story that was given to them of why Daryl's not with them. Is that, he's back at the boat. And so you would think that their cover is going to start to unravel, because that guy's going to get out there and Daryl ain't going to be there. And then it's like, well, what's going on? So we'll have to see. But that's kind of how the episode finishes up, right? Is that we have that being set in motion, and then we have Antonio kind of praying and saying, Daryl, hurry up and find Justina and come back, and then we get the shot, of course, the gratuitous shot of Daryl, riding his motorcycle like into the fog thing, where you're just like, how can you see anything?
What is happening here?
but yeah, so that, I mean, that I just wanted to include that we kind of get a little bit more intrigue of, Fetty.
Yes.
I don't think Fetty bought their story when they came in and kind of tried to explain it off as, it was the primitives, and he's like, yeah, if it was the primitives, they would have killed him. And yet he kind of let it go, and then when the compass thing shows up now, I think he's like, yeah, there's more going on here than I know. So yeah, but other than that, no, I don't think so. I think we touched on everything. There was just one other little moment in the train sequence. One of the guys up on the top of the train, he had a blunderbuss, which is this old flintlock kind of a gun, and it literally has like a big opening, like a funnel at the end, and he shoots at Daryl and he misses, and then you see him and he's pouring the powder in through the opening, trying to reload like a 19th century weapon. He's like, and then Daryl just charges and just kills him. You know what I mean? But it was just really funny. It's like, that dude's got a blunderbuss. It was kind of funny. So anyway, that was, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I think we hit it all.
Oh, look at that. We did. All right. That's like record timing for us, folks. I don't even know what to say about myself. So before we start jibber jabbering about something else, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss all of our listener feedback we got for this episode and what's coming up next on the podcast.
So everyone, stick around. We'll be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally going to get in. You better get ready for it.
No! Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them. Aim for the head.
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey there, everyone. We are back. We're going to go ahead and jump right into our listener feedback that we received for episode 5. So first up, we have Karen, don't call her Lauren Cohen, who left us some feedback via the Facebooks. And she says...
Hey, Karen.
She says, hey, Karen. And we're right there with you. She says, did we need this episode? Absolutely not. I liked all the action, though. That first Agua guy looked like someone who had the flu way back in the prison. Ooh. I would not share my water with that weirdo. I don't like current Carol. I think her character is more fun when she's kicking ass and taking names. Like that stone cold killer who gave 0 fucks and is just gone now. She's like a shell of that. Tits up, girl. Anyway, bring back our water? Why is this the only source? So all the walkers pulling the train just, what, walked off? Let's absolutely share water with the little leprosy girl. What could go wrong? Cheers!
I know, right? I mean, it's just like, Daryl, what are you doing, brother? You don't drink the water she hands you from her little thermos? Ugh.
Listen, if there's anything that Dave Matthews taught me, it's don't drink water. But
I know it's don't be under the overpass.
Well,
that's what Dave Matthews taught me.
The big thing to learn.
Particularly in Chicago.
Yeah, in Chicago, you don't go under the overpass. But one thing I love is when our listeners have the same feelings and emotions about an episode that we do, because then I feel justified. I feel like my feelings are validated. And Karen, thank you for validating my feelings, because we felt all your feelings. What's going on? Anyway. But I agree with a lot of your stuff. We are confused as well. Did enjoy all the action, as we talked about. So yeah, thanks for writing in, Karen.
Yeah.
Love your stuff, as always. It was funny.
Yeah, like you said, lots of fun, useless, waste of time, but fun. And as far as current Carol, yeah, you got to remember, this is post-channel Carol, who is, she's found her inner peace. So
yeah,
the old Carol that would go off the reservation and just, do whatever, I don't know if we're going to see her again. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know.
We'll see. Curious to see how that sort of... Carol isn't terribly bothering me, but I totally understand. I totally understand the vibe that she's given off. So yeah. Thanks again for writing in, Karen. We love hearing from you. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. So moving along, we got our second piece of feedback from our super fan, Erica Price.
Hey, Erica.
Hello, Erica. And Erica sent this in via the Facebook, and she says, Daryl be channeling his inner Aragorn. Just like you said. Tracking Roberto and Justina. It even sounded like orcs in the distance. Yes, that's true. It did. She goes, No Eye Agua Man was really cool. I don't know if cool's the word,
really
but
cool. Let's
he did.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He did, yeah. He did, absolutely. She goes, this episode is giving Mad Max.
Yes.
Maybe Mad Max vibes, is what she meant. And I know you had mentioned that in your notes, and we talked a little bit about it, that there was definitely a little Fury Road and some things in there. I think we are right there with you, Erica. She goes, I sure hope Daryl got his smallpox. These folks look hella sick.
Yep.
And then she goes, oh, leprosy, not smallpox. Well, hope they don't have to walk very far to get their water now. Or no, still, she goes, still, I'd be no touchy-touchy or drinky-drinky in this sad little town.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. I tell you, as soon as that little kid offered him that thermos, I'm just like, Daryl, what are you doing, man? Do not drink that. Don't, no. And then he did. It's just, Anyway, she goes on to say, oh, good, the horse escaped. I did the same thing. I'm like, good for you, horse. You're like, the horse is like, yeah, I'm out of here. She goes, I hope they don't have to walk very far to get their water now. Yeah, it's like, where they had, what did they say? They had like the big cistern or something that was empty. Yeah. Didn't they show it to him? So like, does this mean they have to like walk all the way out to where the train is every day to fill up their little things with water, or what? It was very confusing as to what they're gonna do. She goes, poor Carol. She just can't get through to Antonio. I don't really think he wants to go home with them. Yeah, I'm starting to get that too. And whether it's because he can't, like Diana thinks, or it's just that he's sort of like, I'm just here and this is where I'm going to stay.
Right.
We'll have to see. She goes, they're going to need a bigger boat if they ask more people to come along. Yeah, that's true. Because, you know, it was going to be Roberto and Justina, and now Antonio perhaps going. I mean, and Valentina was asked. I mean, they just need to upgrade to like a yacht, I think, is what they got to do. And then she finishes off by saying, it seems Fetty figured out Daryl is up to something. Yes, I agree. I think he did. And then she finished it off saying, until next week, hot dogs. And we did get another hot dogs reference in this episode. Yes. So the hot dogs are still with us, which is good. We haven't seen the can for a while, but at least they're living on in spirit.
Yes.
So, Erica, amazing feedback. And again, just like what Karen had said, I think a lot of that is stuff that Diane and I are 100% in alignment with.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again for writing in, Karen. We love hearing from you. You got some great insights there. So thank you, as always. Next up, we got an email from our pal Bev from the UK. Thanks again for writing in, Bev. We love hearing from you as well. She wrote in.
Hello, Bev.
She wrote in to say, hope everything is well at your end of the world. Well, we live near Chicago, so I don't know if you watch the news, but it's not great. No. I can't believe we're at episode 5 already. How the time flies when the characters are constantly caught up sorting other people's shit out. Amen, sister.
Yes.
Yeah. For a moment at the beginning of this episode, I really thought there was a chance the kid would die at the end of that rope. Roberto, she means.
Yes.
If he had, it really would have given the show a bit more bite. But no, our hero saved the day again. Not content with saving one township last week, Daryl appears from the desert to save another group of people. This little detour was entertaining enough. I just hope that they crop up again to help Daryl out. Otherwise, what was the point of it all? Yeah, we've been kind of saying that.
Yeah.
Although I like the Daryl Dixon Cowboy for Hire show, I just can't help thinking we don't have many episodes in this series and they need to get a move on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All in all, not a bad episode. They just need to stop playing cowboy and get back to our main storyline. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Bev, not in sunny Devon this time, coming to you from London town, the world of jigsaw puzzles sleeps for no one. I don't know what that means.
I do not. I am unfamiliar with that phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe London is known for, I guess, jigsaw puzzles. I don't know.
And they must be like sleeping jigsaw puzzles or a way. I don't understand.
But here's the thing, Bev, you ask questions and then you create new conundrums for us. We don't know any of this stuff about London being a jigsaw puzzle town.
We're just dumb Americans.
Yeah,
sir.
we're really dumb Americans. And we're really, it's hard to pay attention because we live in the near the Chicago war zone. So it's it's nothing but, fires and riots and, martial law pretty much. So, it's hard to concentrate on jigsaw puzzles right now.
Most dangerous city in the world, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe everything you see on TV. Anyway, moving on and leaving politics aside, what's coming up next on the podcast? So next week we'll be recording at our more normal day of the week. Sorry for the midweek sort of change up here. It's all Steve's fault. So next week we will have episode 6 where, like Bev said, I can't believe we've only got 2 left. Episode 6, title of the episode is Contrabando. I'm no Spanish expert, but I think that means contraband. But what do I know? We haven't had an episode description yet, but we did get some really good clips for next week. And it looks like Daryl makes it to Barcelona. But he's met up with Paz. joins him there.
Yep. Paz.
Which is interesting.
Paz turns up and says, "You might need a guide."
Yeah, exactly. And then there's some really great images of lots of action, some fighting. It's unclear, like, is there more people that sort of come and assist Daryl? It's hard to tell. They show a couple of images of, Alcazar, the guy who would be king is sort of like under fire and is sort of, bending down. So he's taking on some fire. And there's this scene with someone reaching to try and get Justina is behind a set of bars somewhere, some type of jail facility. So there's a lot of different images of like trying to get her out. And there's images of, some type of battle ensuing and lots of gunfire. So looks like it's going to be another action-packed episode. So, as is usually the case when you're sort of barreling towards the end of a season, usually it's the second to last episode that has all the action, and then it's the final episode of the season that does sort of like a wrap-up, tie-up, get you ready for either the end of the show or the continuation moving on to, a bridge to the next season kind of thing. So
the cliffhanger, if you will.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, and I think, too, in the scenes for next week, there's a bit where we actually hear Daryl say, you'll get a chance to kill the king, and that will let the queen come home, which I'm assuming he's saying to Paz, because Paz, of course, has the relationship with the queen to be already. So yeah, you're right. I think there's a big promise of a lot of confrontation, a lot of action, and we'll have to see, like you said, the penultimate episode usually has a lot of plot.
Yeah, a lot.
They kind of they throw up just because they got no choice, and then the last episode is usually either the mostly resolution or the setup for what's coming in season 4. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like it's going to be pretty exciting. Good stuff. So follow along next week and we'll have more info for you. If you've noticed, if you follow us on social media, I've been sort of playing around with like a 30 Days of Horror sort of fun thing. I came across a list. There's a podcast called Nightmare on Film Street, I think is what it's called, and another horror themed podcast out there, and they were doing like a horror challenge where, and a lot of the horror challenges involve lots of people will do the thing where they watch a horror movie every day for the 31 days of October. And there's lots of different ones, and you can follow, like, AMC has horror movies every night. Shudder is always doing stuff. Well, what they were doing for this sort of 31 Days of Horror challenge is they did these prompts so that you could have a movie to have to pick that you would eventually watch. And I thought it would be a really great sort of jumping off point for discussion. So if you've been following our social media, you've noticed, and we've gotten some really great conversations started. Erica and Bev have gone in there with some notes. Our pal Joe has had some information. We saw, Alma, who we haven't seen in a while. Alma Contreras came in there, and she had some comments to say about some of the horror movies that have been part of the discussion. So if you aren't already following us, I'm posting that on all three. So whether you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Blue Sky, they're being pushed out to there. So yeah, look for those. I've got one going out every day. There was one I posted just a little bit ago for the 8th day, which the prompt for today is don't answer the phone. And my choice was, I went with something that was a little more of an easy choice, but it's been great because lots of people have been sort of digging down and picking either things that are not the most obvious choice, and they're going with stuff that really is something in that genre or in that prompt is a movie they enjoy. So I'm curious to see what else people put, but I went with Scream because I thought that that's a really great, so much of the movie is based off of the picking up the phone. So I thought that was a really good one to pick. Good horror movie. sort of classic don't pick up the phone moment. So yeah, so follow us along social media. If you aren't already, follow in with the fun, see what the prompt is every day. Let us know your thoughts, what movie would fit that genre or the prompt or whatever it is that the prompt of the day is. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of, lots of conversation and people putting in their thoughts as well. So it's been exactly what I wanted, which was to start people sort of chattering about it. So yeah, it's been fun so far. I like it.
Oh, we noticed.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. And one other thing, we usually talk about what shows we're watching, and it's not a horror show for sure. I mean,
I would say it is.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
There's definitely some violence. I was telling Steve that, real briefly, I did used to watch the show Yellowstone, but before it had all of the spin-offs and all of these other like tangents that sort of went off, and before it became like a cultural phenomenon. And then when it got a little bit too big and had all of the spin-offs and everything, my wife and I, we sort of stopped watching. So I never watched the last like season and a half or so of the show. And just always meant to sort of get back to it when all of the like craziness died down. And I've been seeing a lot of clips in my my sort of feed on like Facebook Reels and stuff like that, and different clips from episodes that I've really enjoyed in the past of Yellowstone. And I'm like, I really should go back and watch. And it is streaming. The entire 5 seasons are on Peacock right now. And as luck would have it, my wife purchased a yearly subscription to Peacock because it was cheaper to do the full year in advance. They were doing some sort of special, and she paid for the full year. So I've got a Peacock subscription. I can't even remember why it was that she purchased it, but it doesn't matter. And so I dug back into that starting today, and it's been really great so far. So it's not for everybody. Not everybody loves the Kevin Costner, but I think it's really good. It's a great depiction of like the modern sort of American sort of Western frontier. I think also one of the things that always got really, really well is prior to some other great shows that have covered life on Native American reservations and stuff like that. There's a show called Reservation Dogs, which has been very critically acclaimed. Plus you get Dark Winds on AMC. Lots of really great depictions of Native American culture. And Yellowstone, actually, they did a really great job, I felt. And maybe people could, point me in the wrong direction, but I felt like they were very respectful. It's all these really, really talented Native actors, and they do such a great job of weaving them into this show. They're a really integral part of the plot. It's not a plot device. This takes place in Montana. They're indigenous. It's all very well crafted, and I've always really enjoyed that. So anyway, Yellowstone, diving back into it. So you might see me talking about it on the social medias a little bit over the next few weeks while I binge back through all the episodes and get some resolution there. So yeah, Yellowstone, gotta love it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Anything else we need to chat about before we wrap this up this week?
No, not at all. Just we're in the best time of the year, people. So get out and enjoy it. Yeah. And we're hard to believe we only got 2 episodes left.
I know. And we're planning on probably when we're finished with Daryl, we'll probably take like a week off. And then, we've got a couple of movies that we know we want to talk about with you guys during our time off. And then right before the holidays, Fallout Season 2 is going to be starting up again. So we're going to be taking care of that one with you guys and doing it week to week. Pretty excited for that one. That's going to be so much fun. So that's how it's looking for the next few weeks. We got a couple of conventions coming up in November, which we'll be talking about. And that's how it's looking for the next few weeks. Yay!
So far, so good.
Yeah, love it. All right, so that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us this week, guys. Thanks so much for coming along. We look forward to chatting with you next week when we talk about episode 6. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because those body shots, they just don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Well, it's just because, you people say you look great because you're wearing sweaters, and they're nice to you because you're wearing sweaters. It all works.
Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know. That's how it works, apparently.